every actor's taking PEDs, and I mean every actor, right?
I tell people whatever I'm doing. Like, if otherwise I wouldn't do it. Like, I'm not embarrassed about anything I do. Yeah, I take one shot of testosterone a week. I take some peptides for BP157. Helps me. I think it's helping me recover a bit and with some minor injuries.
Now, it's no secret at this point that actors, both male and female, have taken performance-enhancing drugs for roles, whether that be steroids on the male side to build muscle or dry out or look crazy lean or shredded in some way. For instance, take someone like Hugh Jackman.
For Wolverine, did you do 3 hours a day? 3 hours a day.
So 2 hours in the morning and about 45 minutes in the afternoon.
Okay, and what were you eating?
It's very time-consuming.
What do you eat?
Or, for instance, just GLP-1 agonists and peptides, which, to be honest, aren't really steroids, but you get my point. They might use it to get incredibly lean for a role or just get leaner for a role if they put on some weight or something like that. You get my point. Or just come off of steroids and lose a surprisingly and suspiciously large amount of weight. Then go to Venice in a blue Hawaiian shirt, which is oversized, which makes you look smaller anyway. And then when pictures get taken of you where it looks like you're a lot smaller and people say that you jumped off the steroids, openly deny it on social media so that no one actually is then conspicuous of you at all, or suspicious. Now, at this point, I think it's obvious because of like physique inflation and stuff like that, where you look at old physiques from like the 50s and 60s and compare them to now, most people can just admit that yes, they're most likely taking something, although some people do believe it. However, what's more blatant than their physiques being on juice is the lies that they tell to cover it up. Because to be honest, they have to do a lot of stuff to cover up their natural status in the friggin' Hollywood movie industry. So often actors just sweep it under the rug. They don't talk about it. And whenever it's brought up, they just sort of, right, yep.
You got so jacked for these movies, but Hugh Jackman at 54 is not Hugh Jackman at 32.
True.
So how are you going to get in that kind of shape?
I've learned you can't rush it. It takes time. So we have 6 months from when I finish to when I start filming.
Over the years, people have wondered, did he juice? Did he take steroids?
No, I love my job and I love Wolverine. I've got to be careful what I say here, but I had been told anecdotally what the side effects are of that, and I was like, I don't love it that much. No, I just did it the old school way, and I tell you, I've eaten more chickens. I'm so sorry to all the vegans and vegetarians.
And that happens quite a lot when it comes to like YouTube interviews or something like that, where they're edited and they can be doctored. You know, they get questioned about their natural status and then they say it's the food that they eat, or it's, I'm training twice a day, or something like this. I got a special coach and I trained for like 6 months. But they're quite entertaining to watch when you look at them on talk shows.
I was eating so much chicken breast that the hardest part about it was actually chewing it all.
But to be fair, the talk show hosts are just a bunch of shills anyway, so they're not going to actually really question them that much. They'll give them a light question here or there where they're like, oh, how do you get in such amazing friggin' shape and all this stuff like that? And then they'll just say something and play it off as this amazing joke that, or amazing feat that they've done this basically. But it's worth it. It's worth it.
You did this for a long time.
It's worth it. Worth it.
Yes, it's worth it.
Many times they'll try and say the same things, but you can see in their body language and demeanor that they are quite uncomfortable. But again, it's almost like you could just close your eyes and it's the same person talking every single time. Chicken and rice.
But it's not just like cheeseburgers. I mean, you have to eat like these just bland, naked pieces of chicken and rice, and it's not that appetizing.
I was eating so much chicken breast that the hardest part about it was actually chewing it all.
Not the fun calories. This is the chicken.
Training, I don't know, friggin' twice a day.
About 3 months we trained in Boston, and it was a couple hours a day, and it was brutal.
For Wolverine, did you do 3 hours a day? 3 hours a day.
So 2 hours in the morning and about 45 minutes in the afternoon.
I don't know, just friggin' not anything but taking PEDs basically. And that's the thing, they literally say the same things every time. To the point where I think people actually start believing them, because to be fair, I actually had someone recently tell me that they were eating the same diet that Chris Evans did. No, it was Chris Hemsworth. I keep getting bloody mixed up. But Chris Hemsworth eating his diet because he thought he'd end up looking like Thor or something. It's a bit confusing, I'm not entirely sure. But I think that sometimes these guys are just speaking it into the wind because most people can just see through their lies, basically. To the point where, at this point, some actors are just open about what they do. This guy on Men's Health recently, who's an actor who's, I've heard, close to 60, by the way, which he blimmin' looks amazing for his age. End up basically talking about what he did for certain roles, which I respect his openness.
I tell people whatever I'm doing. If otherwise I wouldn't do it. Like, I'm not embarrassed about anything I do. Yeah, I take one shot of testosterone a week. I take some peptides for BP157. Helps me. I think it's helping me recover a bit and with some minor injuries.
You even had someone like Shia LaBeouf recently talking about how he was taking SARMs for a certain role. Selective androgen receptor modulators, which used to be coined as steroids with no side effects because their oral use, whether pipette or tablet, but of course they did have terrible side effects, and Shia LaBeouf himself found out that they do.
I was about to die. We had a cardiologist tell me, you gotta stop. I was on like all kind of weird steroids, like not steroids, but it's called SARM. There's some weird new steroid that they gave me that I got big.
He was eating a lot as well.
I was eating a lot. Well, sure, you got to, but I was doing everything.
How did you lose it?
Stop doing SARMs and then stop eating. How much?
So yes, because he went through such a bad experience, I believe he may have thought that it would be good to be open about it and say how bad that they are. Whereas then you contrast that with someone like The Rock, for instance, who had a big scandal recently in regard to him jumping off of steroids and downsizing quite a lot, which of course everyone knows that he did. Everyone on social media, YouTube, friggin' TV and all this stuff like that, everyone knows that he jumped off of gear to lose that weight. However, when people started to make videos criticizing him for it, he said that it's simply not true.
The Rock has officially responded to the steroid allegations. He responded to my post calling him out for coming off cycle the other day. He said this is 100% not true. The amount of gear that The Rock has had to take over the years to maintain this physique at his age will definitely wreck cholesterol and increase blood pressure chronically.
And then he started to say other stuff that like he changed his look because he's not doing those particular movies anymore. The big movies are fun, but at the end of the day, these are more for me. Or something like that, right? In regard to he wants to make more personal movies, which, okay, I get, but then that shouldn't really be an excuse for you to downsize, because we know why you downsized. And to be fair, it's not uncommon for actors to downsize or put on weight for a role. But for someone like The Rock, who's been consistently big this whole time for literally decades, who then downsizes quite a lot because of his age, and of course there was issues with his heart recently and stuff like that, everyone's like, okay, yeah, he jumped off gear. Yet of course he still denies it. So you do have to wonder sometimes, why can some actors be open, like the guy on Men's Health, or Shia LaBeouf or something like that, and other actors have to be so secretive about it, have to cover it up and say that they're natural and whatnot? Take Hugh Jackman, Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, The Rock, Dave Bautista, all these friggin' Zac Efron, all these guys. Well, I think it comes down to certain things. First of all, morals. I think some actors are just like, there's no point in me lying at all. I might as well just be open about it, because at the end of the day, I'm going to get paid for this. You know what I mean? They put their ego aside and say, yeah, look, I did take something for this role, because I wanted to get the best look that I can for it. And that does make sense in my opinion.
I tell people whatever I'm doing. If otherwise I wouldn't do it.
Other people, I think, may be under contractual obligation to not talk about their natural status. And if they are questioned about it, then they can't be open, which, to be honest, it doesn't really make much sense to me. Depending on the film, it doesn't really make much sense to me. What I mean by that, well, to be fair, I'm thinking about it, and a lot of these guys play superheroes, which are for kids. And of course, they wouldn't talk about steroids for a film that they featured in that's meant for kids. So yeah, maybe that would be why, the contractual obligation that's there for them not to talk about it, because they want to be good male role models to these kids, right? So if they just say, I'm friggin' taking steroids, what image does it give the kids? To take shortcuts? I think other people also have this ingrained in their public image. If you take The Rock, for instance, The Rock could just openly talk about him taking steroids, and although he did take steroids when he was younger and it just didn't work well for him or something like that, he ultimately at this point can't escape it. Someone like Michael Hearn's very similar, for instance, and Kenny KO literally said that to him, that you almost have to just die on this now. Like, you have to take it to the grave whether you're natural or not.
You don't want to talk about this, the natty or nothing, but my fans are going to hate to hear this. Go. My advice from a business standpoint is, even if, let's say, you weren't natural, right, you need to take it to the grave, because otherwise you become Liver King, not forgotten because you'll always be the legend and the titan, okay, but it would lose that magic effect.
Because imagine the reaction that would happen if someone like The Rock or Dave Bautista or even someone like Michael Hearn comes out and says that they're on something, or it gets found out that they're on something. What would the public reaction be? Of course, there would be kind of public hysteria where people are like, oh my days. But then I think people would then just kind of quiet down and say, oh yeah, like we knew all along, like it doesn't really matter. So it is kind of confusing, but if we actually think about it for a moment, there are some issues that genuinely do come with this. And what I mean by that is, let's say, for instance, an actor starts lying about their natural status and stuff like that. People want to get into that shape. So, of course, they're going to try their hardest, maybe eat the same diet and whatnot. And then they realize that they don't look like that. So what they do, they end up either going on steroids or getting annoyed because they knew that the actor lied or something. I'm not entirely sure. There's sort of psychological issues basically because they're like, well, I trained exactly like he did and I don't look like him. Of course, genetics play a role, but at the same time, it's going to be the gear as well. The other issues with this as well could be a sort of societal thing where basically it's seen as like, that's what's attractive. That's the male body image that you should strive for instance. Now, if you look at someone like Sean Connery in the 1960s, he actually competed in the Mr. Universe, believe it or not, and people say that that's how he got to become James Bond or something, which, okay, maybe this was attractive at the time for most women, but compare that to what it is now. Now, you may see that in a very different light, but other people see that as, oh, it's detrimental to the public zeitgeist that we start accepting steroided up physiques as attractive. And we think, oh, that's what women find attractive, so I need to get into that physique, into that shape to be an attractive man, basically. Whereas no, you just need to mog. You just need to be European. That's it, that's all you need. But at the end of the day, this is, of course, quite a confusing situation. It's a bit all over the place. And you find that this situation, this problem, if you will, I don't think will ever go away because we're going to have this constant lie, this constant sheltering or covering of these actors where they can live in this guise of, oh, I'm natural and whatnot. And people may or may not believe them. But of course, that comes with issues that I think may rear its head in the future.